with younger customers and targeting those people would definitely be a huge way to be successful. Another way is definitely just customer service by just setting expectations and meeting them or exceeding them. It's so often in this industry where you'll make a call and they're like, oh yeah, I'll be there on Tuesday. And then Tuesday comes, no call, no show. You try calling him, texting him, nothing. You get something back 3 days later saying, oh, sorry, hey, I was on a job, I was doing this and I couldn't get back to you, sorry. So just meeting expectations or exceeding them is definitely a second way to be successful in 2022. Because there's a lot of boats, like Meryl pointed out, there's 170 boats for each service provider or something like that. There's a lot of boats out there, but not all of them are good jobs or good for your portfolio. So saying no as much as possible.
And is their own island. And when you get on a boat, there's so many things that could go wrong and things that you just don't even know about. When you make friends with people, like for instance, everyone has their own major boat project that they end up having to work on where they have a special set of tools that is super expensive to own and they mastered that one job. So you can borrow tools from people, you can get advice from people how to do projects. It just makes the experience a lot easier because there's not much content out there about how to fix everything on a boat. And it's hard to kind of navigate the black hole of information.
So I wake up every morning and the first thing I think about is my boat. And usually when I'm at work, I'm thinking about my boat.
I'm thinking about my boat. I love it.
And when I come home every day, I'm working on my boat. It's almost like having a child. In fact, I don't have kids, so I can't say this for sure, but I think maybe sometimes this is harder than having a child because it always needs your attention.
And it can sink at any given moment.
And it's a whole lot more expensive.
Well, on my dating app, I say, I don't have a dog or a child. I just have a boat.
Is where you'll find success, and one of the things that he was always giving me advice on is like, be pleasantly persistent, just enough where you're not annoying, but just enough where they don't forget about you, and, like to give you an example, again, qualified captain episode took me a year to get him to come onto the show, over a year. It's kind of how I've been approaching it is, man, I want to talk to that person because they seem really cool and you got a cool business. And if I can help you down the road, then great. If not, okay, cool. That's kind of been my strategy.
Good oysters, try to help marketing. Oysters are very much like beer and wine, right? That people want to try. They have different flavor profiles. They want to try Merritt Island oysters. They want to try Cape Small oysters. They want to try Ferta Farm oysters. So even if they're within a similar region, people really like to be able to try them because they do have different flavor profiles. So it's much more like in the wine world where, it's kind of regionally based, but you want to try them from the different actual growers.
Scenario and assume, well, there is a chance it could happen. So have I got the boat ready for that? Am I ready for that? Have I decided if this should happen, what will I actually do? So you've kind of been through the scenario in your mind's eye, ready for when it happens. Otherwise, it could be a disaster. But if you thought about it and you've got things on the boat, decided what you would do, you're not going to just call Mayday and expect someone to come and save you. That's the last thing you want to do. You should be independent. You should be self-reliant and get everything ready in advance. Think about it. And it's partly also the docking thing. So many times people think, oh, you've got to come in and get it the first time.
The entire energy of the sun on that surface, you see, what will be huge in my opinion, and won't have problem of dust or other dirt on all of this. And after this, in a way to microwave it on the earth.
Uh-oh.
You see? Yes. So as my colleague says, if you can imagine flying fried chicken, you see, falling from sky, that will be the case. But you should wait until you should not open the microwave door until. like us, just the people, you see, from the industry to say something. This is because I have a feeling that many publication, or let's put the media space, is dominated in this moment by a lot of names, or maybe not names, but roles and functions in the industry, rather than really voices. And I says that the normal person could have something very interesting to say as well. And democracy should work like this, you see. So Agora should be a place where not only the king or the minister or the, I don't know what, the very wealthy person will be allowed to say something. We need also the voice of the regular person to say something.
But along those times, I also started a business called Captain's Choice Canine Cruises, where I took dogs out to the harbor islands, dog walking service, sort of take them out there in the morning and bring them back in the evening. This was before the harbor islands were as developed as they are now. And that went pretty well, but eventually I had one bad day where I lost a dog. And I found the dog eventually, but it wasn't until way after dark when I finally found the dog, and I brought them all back. And this was before cell phones. And so I wasn't able to tell anybody where I was or what was going on. It's just like I had absconded with these 7 dogs and didn't return them. Everyone was wondering what was going on. And needless to say, none of them were too keen to give me their dogs again. So that business kind of collapsed. One of the things that many of them did was to start with a trip to Bermuda. You know, they'd leave Boston and they're going to go off on this big round the world sailing trip, and they'd sail for Bermuda. And that's like quite a rude introduction to, you know, your big change of life. And so I think there's something to be said for sort of easing into it. And that's what we're doing.
That's relevant. And, you know, if you don't know something about what you're doing yourself, you can usually hire someone that does. But by far, for me, the most significant characteristic has been perseverance. You know, willing to fail and get back up and keep going. I mean, I have had failures and I've lost money and I've pondered, you know, continuing on, but for some reason, and in a lot of cases, I have to say it was the support of my wife who allowed me to have these experiences and still stick it out. You know, we eventually became very successful at it, but perseverance was the key element for me.
Get a degree in mechanical engineering or materials engineering, some kind of engineering. Get a degree in a field where you can get a job not in the yacht business, so you can fall back on that. And then get a degree in an area where what you learn there is applicable to yacht design, so that you know as many bullets in your gun as you can fit, right? Because it's going to be a little rocky.
Yeah.
About 8 years, I was running their marketing for them and new products, believe it or not. And I went to the doctor one day, and he looked at my blood work, and he said, "What are you eating?" And I'm like, "Well, I have all these home economists that work for me, so they all have kids, and they're all selling me Girl Scout cookies, so I'm eating Girl Scout cookies and beef, and that's about it." And he said, "Well, you got to make a change there." So I decided to look for a new job. And fortunately, my timing was perfect, because right around that time, the National Marine Manufacturers Association, the boating world, they're the association that represents boat manufacturers, they were looking to start their own national consumer marketing campaign. So my timing couldn't have been better. And so when I saw an ad, I mean, who sees an ad anymore in a newspaper even? I think that was the last time that I probably ever looked at the help wanted ads in a newspaper. But tiny little ad looking to start a national advertising campaign for boating. And I'm like, well, I mean, I grew up boating. I love boating. You know what? I got to get out of beef. Maybe I'll eat a little bit more fish if I go to the boating industry. I answered the ad, and I had a lot of interviews. I interviewed with them, the boating association, about 7 times. I had interviews with board members. I had interviews with pretty much every staff member, counterparts. And, I also was interesting. I interviewed with people that were going to report to me. So that's always kind of interesting because they're asking me questions like, are you going to be a tough boss? And ingredient was nice. It had to be nice. And if they were smart and they were ambitious, but they weren't nice, that created problems for me. So I had to bring in people that were nice, and that really just enabled the success of the team. Now, did it work every time? And there was a couple of people that snuck in and maybe didn't fit very well, but 90% of the time, I had those three traits, we were going to be successful.
I remember one thing Dodge Morgan said when we were at it was a fundraising function. He was speaking on our behalf. Governor Maine was there, and he was speaking to everybody. He turned over and looked at me and says, "Bruce, I want you to know that winning isn't everything. Wanting to is." That was a good one. And
love it.
And I suppose another saying I should point out that I had a great partner in my build up to the Vendée Globe who put up with my sailing and years of involvement to pull the thing off. But through the Vendée Globe, I ran off with a crazy French girl. And a bit of advice I'll give people is that do not make relationship decisions after 110 days at sea.
Something unique about it, perhaps. The client sometimes has an input. I think it's to give something a differentiation or a beauty, perhaps, a distinctive beauty, which is going to be timeless.
And it's really, the YouTube is all about that. And it's really true. Like you never go like this. No other channel does this. It's always a kind of a step thing. And it's been so true for our channel.
True.
And so sometimes it's like he takes it more close to heart. He's just like, why is this video not doing that well? And I'm like, it's okay. It's just, there's so many factors that go into a video being successful. And sometimes you hit everything right. Your view duration is right. Your click through is great, but it's just it's not doing it. It's not going that well.
And maybe don't kill yourself obsessing over the details of why this, why that. Just keep
just
doing
go
it.
up to the next one. Yeah.
Just put the next one out. And that was the advice. Just put one out, do your very best. If you need to do a little, if you need to optimize it, you think you could do better, do it, but don't go crazy obsessing about it. It's just, there's so much more that goes into that. So I think that's the biggest thing. You can't take it close to heart or you'll get burned out really, really fast.
And just as I did in saying yes to volunteering at that plywood regatta, you never know what saying yes to could be actually an opportunity or a door opening. You may not even realize it is a door when you're saying yes at the beginning. And so the more you can just keep challenging yourself, challenging those around you, that's the best way to keep growing and becoming a better version of yourself.
Keep doing it because the things, I need water and food to survive, and it's a huge pain in the ass to do that sometimes. It gets to be October. I don't leave usually until November. Up here, it gets to be October. It can be 40, 45 degrees. I'm taking the dinghy ashore in rough weather. That's not fun in tropics when it's blowing 30.
On in the next few years and we'll go sailing. And, being prepared for that long, bumpy road and not having a real firm deadline, I think takes a lot of stress out of it.
Yeah, with the YouTube channel, it's very easy to edit videos and fast forward videos and do all of that type of stuff. And, people, I guess, don't necessarily see all the time because, you're living it, but everyone else gets to experience it at 100 times speed.
For sure. Yeah. And there's a lot of stuff we don't show. If KP and I spend 4 days sanding, you see 1 minute of... Yeah, exactly. So you see a lot of the more intricate things and closer to semblance of real time, but the real monotonous, tedious, time-consuming things are all either not shown or sped up because, who wants to watch someone sand for 4 hours or 4 weeks or 4 days?
There's some people out there. Maybe some background noise.
I was going to say like ASMR or whatever it is. ASMR.
Yeah.
Background noise. That's really cool. So I noticed when I was looking at your YouTube videos that you started off with, correct me if I'm wrong, but quite short ones, and then they got longer and whatever. Do you have like an optimal length for your?
He just is dumped in some foreign country, Cologne, Tahiti, Ho Chi Minh City, Vung Tau, and you got to survive, and we're dumb. By nature, sailors are naive. Because the people that you live with are people you can trust because you're all on the same team. Suddenly, you get off a ship in the middle of some port, God knows where, and you've got a lot of money and you don't look like everyone else. So you've got to figure it out really quickly. So you got to lay the I was once jumped by 6 guys at 3 a.m. and they said, "Hey, man, give us your money." And I said, "Guys, if I had money, do you really think I'd be stupid enough to be walking in this shithole neighborhood at 4 a.m. alone and drunk? Of course I don't have any money." And you know what? The guys paid for their uncle to give me a cab ride to the only bar that was open and gave me $20 cash.
That's brilliant.
I'm lucky, but that's also like, my dad got jumped in high school. He was a Swedish kid with a nice new car, and they jumped him and they said, "Hey, give us your lunch money." I'm like,
shooting machine guns on the water, and we were freaking out. Let's get out of here, and we couldn't understand what was happening. And apparently Noriega was hiding. There was a military base, and he was hiding right on this beach on this military base. So they probably thought we were with a boat there trying to do something. And so we were like, my mom said, just go and lift the anchor and let's go to Taboga, which is an island across Panama. So I went to lift up the anchor, and she said, just pretend you don't see them. And I said, how can I pretend? They're shooting in the water, and circling the boat and shooting in the water. They're just trying to scare us. So we left, and then next day my father arrives with my brother on this other boat. He looks, oh my God, where's my wife? She's left. She's gone across the Pacific and left me here. And so they called the base, and the base had nothing.
Of the oceans, if you will. That is roughly being applied to space law. So right? Because it's kind of the same idea, like international law of the sea. So United Nations Convention for the Law of the Sea was started in like the 40s, 50s, ultimately finished up in the 80s, and was talking about deep sea drilling. There was no way to deep sea drill, right? Like 200 nautical miles offshore at the time. So it's kind of that same idea of so conceptual and theory based, but you need to kind of create a rule that will one day apply to that. So now this law of the sea in kind of general theories is roughly being applied to space law. Pretty cool, huh?
Smart people have thrown an awful lot of money and made occasional breakthroughs, but most of the time these projects fail. And I've seen dozens of them over the years fail in the boat world. So you've got to be pretty determined, and you've got to be resigned to the fact that it might not work, and accept whatever losses that might incur. Because it's really tough to create a new product in the boat world and make it a commercial reality.
I hear you. Maybe the way of doing it would be sailboat with electric motor, lithium-ion batteries, solar panels, wind generator. To you.
Well, I think loyalty starts with the company being loyal to its customers first. And that loyalty starts with not only the dedication to good craftsmanship, to quality, but really following up with the service after the sale. That's a thing that I see with a lot of manufacturers where they've actually hired people and put them in positions to fight warranty costs, to add to their, bottom line. And, we're not about that. Once you get a vessel from us, it's about that relationship that continues. And that starts with making sure that you're out there using your boat, enjoying your boat. It's really easy to lose sight of why people buy a boat. It's about to have fun. And when there's issues with boats, and there's always issues with boats, it's how you take care of it.
Check back every Tuesday for our latest episode.
And be sure to like, share and subscribe to SHIPSHAPE.pro.